Have you ever witnessed a moment so raw and honest that it stops time? That's what happened in the boardroom that day. If this story touches your heart, please hit that like button and subscribe to see more real stories that remind us what truly matters in life. The first time it happened, Eliza Morgan nearly dropped her coffee mug. "Mommy, can you help me with this?" 5-year-old Lily stood in the doorway of Eliza's office, holding a tangled mess of ribbon for her school project. The CEO of Morgan Enterprises froze, her eyes darting to David Chen, the company's lead software engineer and Lily's father, who had just entered behind his daughter. David's face flushed crimson. "Lily, honey, Ms. Morgan is very busy. And remember what we talked about? She's your dad's boss, not." "It's fine," Eliza said quickly, setting down her mug. She knelt to Lily's level, taking the ribbons while trying to ignore the strange flutter in her chest. "I can help for a minute." That was 6 months ago, when David had first started bringing Lily to the office occasionally due to childcare issues. Now, the little girl's slip of a mommy had become more frequent, and Eliza couldn't ignore it any longer. The corporate headquarters of Morgan Enterprises occupied the top 3 floors of a gleaming skyscraper in downtown Seattle. Rain pelted against the floor-to-ceiling windows of Eliza's corner office as she watched David work at his temporary station. The company's new software launch had the entire team working overtime, and David had been relocated to a desk near her office to facilitate their collaboration. At 38, Eliza had built her tech company from the ground up. Business magazines called her ruthless, brilliant, and intimidating. What they didn't mention was how empty her penthouse felt each night, how the achievement of her professional goals had left a void where personal ones should have been. David Chen had joined the company 2 years ago. Quiet, dedicated, and undeniably talented, he'd quickly become indispensable. When his wife died suddenly from an aneurysm 18 months ago, leaving him alone with 4-year-old Lily, Eliza had surprised everyone, including herself, by accommodating his need for flexible hours and occasionally allowing him to bring Lily to work when childcare fell through. "Mr. Chen, could I see you in my office?" Eliza called, her voice carrying the professional tone she'd perfected over years of leadership. David looked up from his computer, nodded, and followed her inside. She closed the door behind them. "Is everything all right with the project?" he asked, his dark eyes concerned. Eliza took a deep breath. "The project is fine. This is about Lily." David's shoulders tensed. "I'm sorry about yesterday. I know bringing her in twice in 1 week isn't ideal, but my sister had that emergency and—" "It's not about her being here," Eliza interrupted, gesturing for him to sit. "It's about what she calls me." Understanding dawned on his face. "Oh. David, she called me mommy 3 times yesterday. This isn't the first time, and it seems to be happening more frequently." Eliza leaned against her desk, arms crossed. "I need to understand why." The silence between them stretched uncomfortably. Outside, Seattle's skyline disappeared behind a curtain of rain. "I've talked to her about it," David finally said, his voice quiet. "She knows you're not her mother. Then why does she keep doing it?" David ran a hand through his dark hair, a gesture Eliza had come to recognize as a sign of his distress. "I don't know if I can explain it properly." "Try," Eliza said, softer than she intended. He looked up at her, and for a moment, Eliza saw the weight he carried: single father, grieving widower, dedicated employee. "After Sarah died, Lily stopped talking for almost 2 months," he began. "The therapist said it was her way of processing grief. When she finally started speaking again, she would ask me every day when mommy was coming back." Eliza's throat tightened. "Eventually, she stopped asking," David continued. "But she started noticing things, how other kids had mommies who picked them up from school, who braided their hair, who kissed their scrapes. She began drawing pictures of our family with a mommy figure added in." He paused, looking down at his hands. "The first time she called you mommy, we had just left the office. I asked her about it, and she said, "Daddy, Ms. Morgan looks at me the way my friend Emma's mommy looks at her." Eliza felt something crack inside her chest. "How is that?" "Like she matters," David said simply. "Like what she says is important." The rain drummed harder against the windows, filling the silence between them. "I've tried to explain that you're my boss, that you're being kind because you're a good person, but..." He shook his head. "She sees how you help her with her drawings, how you remember her favorite color, how you always have those strawberry candies she loves. To a 5-year-old who lost her mother, those things mean something different." Eliza turned away, facing the window to hide the unexpected moisture in her eyes. She'd built a reputation on being unflappable, on never showing vulnerability, especially in her office. "I'll talk to her again," David said. "I'll make it clear that she can't call you that. I'm sorry if it made you uncomfortable." Eliza remained silent, watching raindrops race down the glass. In their distorted reflections, she caught glimpses of her life, the late nights, the empty apartment, the achievements that no one was waiting at home to celebrate with her. "Why does it bother you?" she finally asked, still facing the window. "Excuse me?" She turned back to him. "Why does it bother you that she calls me that?" David looked startled. "I assumed it bothered you." "That's not what I asked." He considered her question, his expression thoughtful. "I guess, part of me feels like I'm failing Sarah. Like I'm not keeping her memory alive enough for Lily." "And the other part?" His eyes met hers. "The other part is afraid of wanting things I can't have." The air between them changed, charged with something neither had acknowledged during their 2 years of working together. "What things?" Eliza asked, her CEO voice nowhere to be found. "A partner. Someone who looks at Lily the way you do. Someone who looks at me the way..." He stopped, shook his head. "I'm sorry. This is completely inappropriate. I should go." He stood, but Eliza moved to block his path to the door. "Finish what you were saying," she said quietly. David took a deep breath. "The way you sometimes look at me when you think I don't notice." Eliza had built her company on calculated risks, on knowing when to leap and when to retreat. This moment felt like standing on the edge of a precipice. "And how is that?" she asked. "Like I might be more than just an employee to you." The confession hung between them, impossible to take back. "You are," Eliza admitted, the words feeling foreign on her tongue. "You both are." Outside her office, phones rang and keyboards clicked as the workday continued. Inside, time seemed suspended. "I never planned this," David said. "After Sarah died, I thought that part of my life was over. I just wanted to raise Lily and do my job well." "I never planned for any of this either," Eliza replied. "The company was always enough. Until suddenly, it wasn't." David stepped closer. "What are you saying, Eliza?" It was the first time he'd used her first name. "I'm saying that maybe we should talk about why it doesn't bother me when Lily calls me mommy. Why, instead, it makes me feel something I've never felt before." The door to her office suddenly burst open, and Lily ran in, clutching a drawing. "Daddy! Look what I made with Ms. Patel from HR." She stopped when she saw them standing close together, her small face lighting up. "Mommy! I drew our family." David knelt down, taking the picture from her hands. On the paper were 3 stick figures, a tall one labeled Daddy, a smaller one with a triangle dress labeled Me, and a medium-sized one with long hair labeled Mommy/Eliza. David looked up at Eliza, a question in his eyes. Eliza knelt beside them, her designer suit meeting the office carpet. "It's beautiful, Lily," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "May I keep it?" Lily nodded enthusiastically, then looked between the 2 adults. "Are you and Daddy having a meeting?" "Yes," Eliza said, smiling. "A very important one." "About computers?" David laughed softly. No, sweetheart. About family. Lily beamed. I told Emma at school that I have a mommy now, but she lives at work instead of at home. She said that's weird, but I said it's just different. Eliza felt tears threatening again. Different can be good, she managed. Can mommy come for dinner tonight? Lily asked her father, her innocence cutting through the complexity of the adult world. David looked at Eliza. That depends. Would she like to? 3 months later, the employees of Morgan Enterprises were still adjusting to the changes. Their formidable CEO now occasionally arrived with a chattering 5-year-old in tow. The lead software engineer now shared quick, affectionate touches with the boss when they thought no one was looking. And the corner office now displayed a child's drawing in an expensive frame. On a rare sunny Seattle afternoon, Eliza sat in a park watching David push Lily on the swings. Her phone buzzed with emails and messages, but for once, they could wait. Higher, Daddy. Lily squealed, her laughter carrying across the playground. Eliza's assistant had nearly fainted when she'd blocked off every Sunday as unavailable for meetings. The board had raised eyebrows when she'd adjusted the company's childcare policies. But for the first time in her career, Eliza was making decisions based on more than profit margins and market shares. David jogged over while Lily continued swinging. She's fearless, he said, sitting beside Eliza on the bench. Just like someone else I know. Eliza smiled. I was terrified, you know. That first night I came for dinner. You? The woman who negotiated the Westfield merger without blinking? Business is easy. This. She gestured between them, then toward Lily. This is the scariest thing I've ever done. David took her hand. Worth it, though? Eliza watched as Lily jumped off the swing and ran toward them, her small face alight with joy. Mommy. Daddy. Can we get ice cream? Worth everything, Eliza answered, standing to take Lily's outstretched hand. That evening, as David cooked dinner in what was now their shared apartment, Eliza helped Lily with her homework at the kitchen table. The domesticity of it still felt new, like a sweater that hadn't quite molded to her shape yet. Eliza? David said, using her first name as he always did at home. She looked up from Lily's math worksheet. Remember that day in your office, when you asked me why it bothered me that Lily called you mommy? She nodded. You never told me why it didn't bother you. Eliza glanced at Lily, who was concentrating on drawing perfect numbers. Because it was the first time in my life someone saw me as more than what I could do for them professionally. She didn't care about my title or my company. She just saw something in me that she needed. David stirred the pasta sauce, waiting for her to continue. All my life, I've been defined by achievement. My parents pushed me to excel, my colleagues respected me for my business acumen, my employees feared my standards. But no one ever just wanted me to be part of their family. We did, Lily piped up, clearly listening despite appearing absorbed in her homework. Right, Daddy? David smiled. Right from the start, kiddo. Eliza brushed Lily's hair back from her forehead. And that's the best promotion I've ever received. 6 months into their relationship, Eliza faced her biggest challenge yet. The company had an opportunity to expand internationally, but it would require extensive travel, something she'd never thought twice about before. I can't ask you both to uproot your lives, she said to David as they sat on their balcony after Lily had gone to bed. You're not asking, he replied. We're discussing options, like partners do. The word still gave her a thrill. Partner. Not employee, not subordinate. I could turn it down, she suggested. Stay local, focus on the Seattle market. David shook his head. That's not who you are, Eliza. You built this company to change the world, not just the Pacific Northwest. Things are different now. Yes, they are, he agreed. But different doesn't mean you have to abandon your dreams. It just means we find a way to combine them with ours. Eliza leaned her head against his shoulder. When did you get so wise? Probably around the time I realized my daughter had better intuition about people than I did, he laughed. She knew you belonged with us before either of us figured it out. The next morning, Eliza called an emergency meeting with her executive team. They arrived expecting crisis management, only to find their CEO unusually relaxed. I've been thinking about our international expansion, she began. And I've realized we're approaching it all wrong. The team exchanged nervous glances. Instead of me traveling constantly, we're going to restructure. David will head up a new remote work initiative, allowing key team members to contribute from anywhere in the world. We'll establish regional offices with local leadership, connected through the software platform we've been developing. Her COO frowned. That's a significant departure from our hands-on management style. Yes, it is, Eliza agreed. And it's time. The world is changing, and so am I. Later that day, she found David in the break room. Did you just restructure your entire global strategy so we could stay together? He asked quietly. No, she replied. I restructured it because it was the right business decision that also happens to align with what matters to me personally. That's called work-life integration. He laughed. Is that what the business magazines are calling it these days? They will when I'm done, she promised. 1 year after Lily first called her mommy, Eliza stood in the courthouse, holding the little girl's hand as a judge reviewed their paperwork. And you understand, Ms. Morgan, that this adoption creates a legal parent-child relationship identical to that of a biological parent? The judge asked. I do, Eliza replied, squeezing Lily's hand. And you, Mr. Chen, consent to this adoption as the biological father? David nodded. Absolutely, Your Honor. The judge smiled. And what about you, young lady? How do you feel about Ms. Morgan becoming your legal mother? Lily looked up, her expression serious. She was already my mommy in my heart. This just makes it official for everyone else. The judge chuckled. Well said. By the power vested in me by the state of Washington, I hereby approve this adoption. Congratulations to your family. Outside the courthouse, David pulled Eliza into an embrace. How does it feel to be officially mommy now? Eliza looked down at Lily, who was twirling in her special dress for the occasion. Like the most important merger of my life. That night, after Lily was asleep, David found Eliza in their home office, staring at her laptop. Working late? He asked. She shook her head. Writing something personal, actually. He raised an eyebrow. The great Eliza Morgan, keeping a diary? Not exactly. She turned the screen toward him. I'm writing down our story. How it all began with a little girl's mistake that wasn't really a mistake at all. David read the title on the document, Why Does Your Daughter Call Me Mommy? I want Lily to have this someday, Eliza explained. So she knows how she changed both our lives by seeing something we couldn't see ourselves. David leaned down to kiss her. She's not the only perceptive one in the family. You saw something in us too, a chance to build something different from what you'd always known. The best CEOs recognize potential where others don't, Eliza said with a smile. Even when it's in their personal lives. As they turned out the lights and headed to bed, Eliza paused at Lily's door, pushing it open slightly to check on her. The little girl slept peacefully, surrounded by stuffed animals and with a frame.